Well, thank you very much for staying tuned and welcome back. Well, division of labor, so I take this part and Nairi will take that part. But my guest now, sitting further away from me, is Mary Kufuor, who is a member of the Autism Society of Ghana, and Jennifer Brock, who is a member of the working group Autism Society of Ghana. One of the sectors in our educational system in Ghana which seems to have been forgotten is that of children with special need. And in the past, children with autism were either put to death or abandoned due to the primitive belief that they were, abominations from the gods and were not fit to live amongst humans. Thankfully, children with autism are not abandoned as much as in currently. But how are we taking care of such children in their educational needs? And that's what we are here to talk about. Now, this is an area which, I'm a bit biased, very passionate about, and anytime it comes, I may get a bit emotional, but please forgive me. So, Jennifer, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Mary, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
Now, tomorrow, let's start from here. Tomorrow, we're launching the Autism Association of Ghana Society. You're launching it tomorrow. Tomorrow. Now, you are a working member, so you start how it came about and what you do.
Well, the process towards the formation of the Autism Society of Ghana has been ongoing for a while now. Mm-hmm. I mean, parents have come together, talked about it, and had this strong desire to have a stronger network that is institutionalized and can work better with parents in order that they can give the best to the children. So tomorrow, this dream will come true.
So what would they, let me stay with you, what would the society do? Like anybody, who has a child or relative just calls and joins the society, or what would you do?
Membership is open. Membership is open to families, members of families affected by autism, organizations that work with autism as well.
Mary, you obviously are a big champion of this cause. You have a child that's suffering, or I don't know, is or was suffering from autism?
From autism?
Yeah, from autism. I mean, how did you find this group?
Well, I think some years back, the founder of the Autism Center, Auntie Sewa, started calling parents together. Because if you look at the other disability groups, they can advocate for themselves. So if I am hearing impaired, I have a way of communication. If I have any physical disability, I can advocate for myself. But if you have a child who has some level of intellectual disability, then it becomes difficult for that child to advocate for themselves. So we saw that more or less the parent become the voice for the child with autism, because our children definitely, higher percentage of them have what we call intellectual disability. And we also have communication difficulties. So this is a child struggling to communicate. So the parent becomes the voice. And here we are in a society where there's so much stigma against us. Mm-hmm. People have their perception of what it is to live with autism. Because autism is not something that you can see on the outside, it becomes extremely difficult for people who know that we have this case with us to accept it. So you have people coming to you with all sorts of suggestions: do this, go to this prayer camp, offer this to the gods and do that. And this makes it very difficult for parents. So we found out that most of the parents were hiding their kids. So hardly would anybody come out and talk about it. And even now, and these are people that you'd expect that they should know better. And I'm not here, to argue for or against, but I know that it's equally difficult. Even when I take my own journey as an example, it took some years for us to really accept it.
I was going to go the denial.
Exactly.
Because early stages, when you pick up the signs, you just want to know he or she is a slow starter.
Exactly. I convinced myself that my child is just a late talker. Okay, so I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting. And for autism, the early intervention is key. So the more you wait, the more you're not also doing good to this child. So we felt that time has come for parents to be advocates for their kids, for parents to learn what it takes to have a child with autism, what it takes, what kind of lifestyle, What changes do you have to make? How strong do you have to be? How do you even answer people who are asking you questions that you have no, answer to? And we all know that autism has no cure.
So
it
let
can
me
be
ask
managed.
you a hard question then, though. So if you have a child with autism, is that child written off?
I wouldn't say so. I won't say so. Of course, there are tons of therapies around, but with autism, there's no one size for all.
Okay.
So you may try something that might work for a child. I'll try it, and it totally even regresses my child. So it puts the parent on the forefront. You need to be well informed to be able to make informed decisions. And this is where we have the biggest problem. So somebody comes and says, Mary is doing Sunrise, it's working so well, why don't I try Sunrise? It may not work for your child. Mary is doing applied behavior analysis. Mary is doing mendability. Mary is doing IQ Young. Mary is doing this and that. And as for the therapy, there are tons of them. And it's also extremely expensive. So which one even works for your child? How do you start? Especially in Ghana where there are little services. But with autism, there's a lot that a parent can learn and do for their child. And this is why ASOP comes in. How do we have a voice, a parent coming together, accepting the journey, supporting that child with autism, and then making a difference in this child? Because my child is a living testimony to this. And I know most of you might have seen her or heard about us. We have come a long way. She's 12, almost getting to 13. Just 3 months ago, she started talking to us. So that's a dream come true. It's like I've won the jackpot in a way. Yeah, but a lot has gone in. And this is where we want parents to come
Let me
together.
ask, is she just talking or she's actually communicating to you?
She's communicating. Sometimes when she doesn't find the words, you can see she's struggling to express herself. And we know that communication goes beyond words. Body gestures, all that goes in. And she's trying so hard to communicate. And for us, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Jennifer, you see, I'm listening to Mary, and it looks like a very individual therapy, because every child is unique in their needs, and the parent is best to identify. So the association, won't you be interfering?
Well, there's lots of activities that the association would be undertaking. Primarily, there's a lot of advocacy that has to be done. There needs to be systems in place so that those things can happen. So I work for the Haven International Center for Special Education. We've done a lot of training for parents, teachers, etc. Okay, so we're here to support.
Okay.
The parents are the best advocates, but we're here to help.
Mary, I mean, does the state identify to give you extra, like health care or something that, well, she or he's got autism, therefore give them the therapy for free or the health care for free, or it's not classified here as the state? Do we?
No, we have nothing. Well, not that I know of, but there's nothing at the moment. We don't have government support. And this is where we feel that parents are needed, okay? If we have a strong voice, then we can advocate the services that we want to see in the schools, in the hospitals. We can advocate for it. Nobody knows what you go through unless you tell them. So if we have a stronger voice, a stronger base where we can, tell people what we really want to see. For instance, health. Just 3-4 weeks ago, I was at a hospital, and they needed to have my child's temperature taken. And the old system of having to have the thermometer put there. This is a child who has a lot of sensory needs. Okay, I've gone to other places where they have, it's like a sensor where it's just put on you and it picks up the temperature. Why can't we have this? Then for a child to go through this, at the end of the day we had tantrums, so we couldn't even see the doctor. We could have avoided this if certain things are put in place at the hospital, or if the nurses know what to expect, if they know that we have a child with autism coming in. Can we also have some of the hospitals probably in Accra or other parts of the country where we know that, go to Achimota Hospital, there's services for children with autism. So we know that every Wednesday when you go there, between this time and this time, or you can have a fast track, because these are children who don't understand to be on the queue, wait for your turn. These are basic things that we struggle with. So we feel that time has come for us to advocate, ask for the things that we want to see happen. Okay. and then come to schools. Looking for schools is extremely difficult. Sometimes when your child is transitioned into a mainstream school, other parents feel that it's contagious. So this child in the classroom with autism might, the other children in the class are likely to have it. This is absolutely not true. So we're saying that for those children who can go through mainstream with the right kind of support, my child goes to a mainstream school. We have we sent her there for a particular purpose, not necessarily for the academics, but we wanted it to socialize, learn, because she's becoming an adolescent. She needs to learn from the other girls of her age. My home cannot provide that, but we needed an environment that can equally support her needs. And we had somebody trained to be with her in the classroom during break time and after closing. So she's there with a full aid. Can we have some of the schools being able to accept some of these kids that can go through the system? Of course, there are others that can never go through the mainstream. They will need a special kind of support, a respite care. But for those that can go, which schools are willing to accept them? If you look at some of the schools, they have enrollment of like 80 in a class, and if you have a child who is already struggling, then this becomes difficult. Can we have a class size that can also accommodate some of these kids? So these are the things that we are looking for. The National Health Insurance Bill, for instance, can we have some percentage off for parents who have children with special needs, so that if I go, I know that I'm not paying for this one, I'm not paying for consultation or that. At least it takes a little bit of the burden off parents.
Let me stay with you, because I mean, the stigma attached to this in our society, how are you able to fight the system? There's you, everybody is trying to hide their children or keep them quiet. You are now coming in the media, fighting and championing this cause. I mean, where did you get that energy from?
How do I even answer that? Probably God. Let me try to answer, because I don't know how I did it, but personally, I've also been that type of person who really doesn't care about comments unless they're true about myself. If it's a reflection of myself, then I got to do something. But if it's something that is baseless, I usually don't pay attention. I think that part of me has also helped. But trust me, Nana, it hasn't been easy. It has not been easy. People have a whole perception of why this is happening to you. There are people that believe that you might have been unfaithful to your husband, so God is punishing you. You took somebody's money when you were courting in those days when you were not married. Those kind of things. People have all these beliefs. There are parents who actually, come to you and they tell you, go to this prayer camp. Trust me, I've been there. I've been to the prayer camps. I've done the aquanchere. I've done all the things that it took us almost maybe 5 or 6 years to really accept that my child was living with this condition. So the stigma is so huge out there. And this is where we want parents to really talk about these things. Because the least that we want is people, coming to you and asking questions that you can. We need that moral support from them, not being judgmental and all that. So
Sorry, you mentioned earlier that if you detect it earlier, it's the best. What's the advantage in early treatment to late treatment?
For a child who is, let's say, 2 years, who is not playing, or their play is not appropriate. For instance, if a child is 2 years, we expect that they play at a certain level. So if I throw a ball to them, I expect that they throw the ball back to me. You might throw a ball to a child with autism and may not even understand. They have to throw the ball back to you, and they may even start chewing on it. Sometimes they want to play by themselves. Sometimes, they are just in their own world, just okay. And it's so easy for us to get into their world at this time than when they grow, they're 6 or 7 years, they're used to certain way of doing things. So for us with autism, for children with autism, it's very important the early stages. And that probably brings us back, what are some of the things that they do that, needs this early intervention? They are not, some of them are not responding to their names, so you call a child who is 3 or 4 years, we expect that at least they turn to the direction of the call. Maybe 90% of them, they might not even mind, but they have heard that you're calling them.
Wow.
Sometimes, they want to play by themselves. Sometimes, they are flipping their, arms, going around, running around in circles, and some also sometimes they like to smell everything. These are just some. If your child is doing any of these things, I'm not saying that they have autism. They may, show signs of it, but you need to go for further investigation to know that they do have autism. So for early intervention, you know, we're talking of early social intervention, early social skills. How do we get into the play of this child so that they start to learn about play, they start to socialize, they start to look at us? Some of them, you know, you're talking to them, they're looking somewhere, they have poor eye contact. How do we have activities that we can play 5, 10, 15 minutes at home that also improves a child's eye contact? And these are things that parents, house help, caregivers can learn and do. Okay.
Could over-socialization to be a part? I mean, now you've talked about regressing, but you know, there are some kids who follow everybody and they just want to socialize. I mean, could that also be another form of autism, or that's a different thing?
I don't know about that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I don't know about that one, but and then our teachers. We know these days we all start working early, so by 4 or 5 months you're out of your maternity leave and you have to report to work. So daycares and all that, by 8 months parents are sending their kids to school. So greater part of the day sometimes is also spent with teachers. How do we help these teachers to identify the red signs? What can we do? Can we have, you know, a forum or a training for early years teachers so that when they start seeing some of these signs in the classroom, because some of the referrals that we have to, actually there were the teachers that really pointed to the parents. I think your child is not playing, you know, the way it should. I think your child is not responding to your name. I think your child is not socializing with their mates. I think your child is not interested in toys. I think your child only prefers to play with one particular item all the time. I think these are things that you need to, and then parents say, oh, okay, let's wait for another year, let's wait for 2 years, and then when they see that, of course, when a child is at 3 and they are not communicating, you definitely know that something is not right.
Jennifer, the association, is it, I know it's Ghana, but are you going to have like offices regionally, or it's going to be Accra? And if I'm in Wale Wale, I need to come all the way to Accra for some support?
Well, there'll be a starting point. So after tomorrow's launch, all those details will be ironed out. For now, we need to get it done and put it out there that there is help for parents with kids with autism.
How exactly would it work? If I have a child with autism, I join the association, I then come for training, or I bring my child to a play group, or? Well,
typically there are different types of services that would be available, and then interventions also will be structured. So there'll be a calendar of events, for example. Parents will be informed about training that will happen. Teachers also would be targeted. These interventions have started, but in a very ad hoc manner. Once ASOG is born, more targeted interventions will happen. So,
how difficult has this been putting together?
Well,
I say so because of our stigma. I mean, why do I want to bother about children with autism? I mean, you know, I barely bother about, you know, even able kids who are running around playing football. We don't care about them, let alone a child who's having difficulty. I mean, that's the attitude of us.
Some kind of passion and fellow feeling, you know. I mean, how easy is it for a regular kid, even, you know, navigating their way through this life? How much more a child with special needs? So for ASOG, it just has to happen, and quickly too. It's coming a bit late, but it will happen. I'm very passionate about the need for teachers to be trained. A bit of it has happened, and it's obvious that they know very, very little. Very little about autism.
I think to add to what Jennifer also said, what has also helped is the parents that are living in denial are also seeing the progress in the ones that have gone a step ahead to accept the condition and support their kids. So you know, we started intervention together. Maybe after 2-3 years, they see your child socializing well. You're able to go to social functions now. You are able to go to church. And that's one thing that happens. Most of our parents can't go to church because this child is running around. They can't stand the instruments at church. Then, you know, the songs are too, you know, those things. Yes. So you have parents who haven't been to church for maybe God knows how long it's been. We are Ghanaians. We go for funerals and social engagements. You can't always keep on, you know, absenting yourself. They need to be part of that society. But because of the needs of this child, nobody understands. Okay, so you can't leave it. So I think that parents have started seeing the results in the ones that are really looking and getting involved. So some are really coming out. Okay, what are you doing right? And we know that diet, for instance, is one of the major things that plays a role in a child. Diet, yes. Diet. What to take out and what to add to a child's diet. How do you even start? What are some of the foods that are available in the Ghanaian market that the parents, you know, can afford and use? So these are things that we have. If there's anything that has given us the greatest gain, it is a diet, because that is very consistent. If you choose way of biomed or medications, the child is growing. So for how long can you continue, you know, increasing your dosage and the rest? But we eat every day. It's something that we need. So what do you include in a child's diet? What do you take out? You know that a child who is very hyperactive should stay off sugar or sugary foods. Some of the children also have food allergies and food sensitivities. So they might react to gluten foods or foods that contain wheat, flour, some even millet, some even eggs, some maize. How do you have this information? How do you get this information? It takes a parent who really get involved with a child and know that, okay, for the next 2 months, we're going to stay off meat or we're going to stay off sugar. Let's see what the behavior is. If after 2-3 months we see that the child is getting calmer, then we know that it's working, so we take that out. All these things, you know, it takes a lot of time. And these are things or information that we feel that the parents need. So some of the parents have seen the gains and the progress other parents are making, and they, you know, confidently come out and ask, okay, now I think I want to start something. Where do I even start?
Mary, I mean, for families who are maybe nursing or have, it must be a lot of pressure on the family.
More than you can even see, Nana. It's so difficult, because already everybody's budget is restricted. And here you are with this child who needs so much. Okay. And even the food, some of the food, maybe you look at the Ghanaian, for instance, children who stay on milk. What kind of milk is good for them? We say that we have to stay away from this, and now we are looking for rice milk. You go to the Ghanaian milk, you know, market, and you don't find any rice milk. So where do you even go? So the next thing that we're trying to do is look at the grains that we have here, look at the foods that we have here, look at the vegetables that we have here. Which ones can we substitute in place of the things that we cannot get? But this will also take a lot of time, you know. It takes a lot of parents experimenting and see. So I boldly say that, oh, Nanaya is off meat, she's not taking meat. But your child may not react to that, you know. The child may not be sensitive to that. So which one do you even take in and which one do you even take out? And this is why we said the parent needs to have the information so that you don't just follow the crowd and do what everybody is doing, but what actually works for your child, so that it helps you to save money and not just throw money around.
We looked at the parent, we looked at the teacher. I think the teacher is one thing that I completely missed, which is very vital. But are there any like doctors or health posts? I know you said, you know, they haven't designated any help area for you, but the health-wise, how is help out there?
I think for now,
medically,
yes, thankfully, Kolebu now has the speech department, where I know that you can go, you know, and get assessment done for your child. I know Dr. Beidu is there. We have some speech and language therapists there too. And thanks be to God again, I think the noise we are making is getting somewhere. So in few years to come, we're going to have occupational therapists in Ghana. This is something that we haven't had for a long time. All the ones, this is a service that our children need, occupational therapy, working with the child to identify what they can do, helping them to cope with their sensory needs and all that. We don't have that. It's extremely expensive having somebody come from outside and providing that services. But very soon, I think the first batch is graduating from, I think, Ghana Medical School or so. Dr. Beidu, who is a neuropediatrician at Kulebu, has been extremely helpful. We have Dr. Mabel and a few others who have really come on board. So I think the education is getting out there.
Before I traveled to London, I knew, a boy, then who had autism. I didn't know it was autism, though. We just knew he wasn't like us. Anyway, so he was always kept in the room until I traveled outside. And then you go to Safeway, and the boy who pushes the trolley, you could tell was really, suffering from autism. Really, he had a really bad one. But every day, rain or shine, he came to arrange. I mean, he wore his uniform and he worked. So it brought my mind back thinking, so all these time that this boy I knew back home was locked in the room, he could have done, something, for himself. I'm wondering, are you able to train a child with autism to an adult so that they become independent and live on their own, or they are forever going to be home?
No, they can relatively live a normal life, but also depending on how much they are affected. I can use Andy Sewe's son as an example. He works at Inclusion Ghana, okay, with an aid anyway. But it's also something that they've trained him to do, and he gets up and goes to work every day. So
I think he also worked at a printing press.
Okay.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. But again, I think you've brought an important area of, for discussion. It looks like all the attention is on early intervention, children under 5, under 7. And so when they get to 12, 13, there's not much for them. So what can we do? Because they are transitioning into adulthood. We need to think of respite services, training centers that can iron out what they have in them. My daughter, for instance, loves to thread, beads. Okay. She does it so beautifully. Wow. So if it is something that she can do to occupy, her, then what can I do to support this dream so that she doesn't just get up and run around or do nothing? They need to be engaged. And I think this is extremely important. As parents, we need to start thinking now, what happens, transitioning them into adulthood.
Jennifer, how are you, roping us in as the media? Because you really need the media to buy into this dream to make some noises for you. Are we responding accordingly?
Well, thanks to Joy FM, we're here. And we expect that you'll be at the launch tomorrow to support. And going forward, each time we need your help, you would carry our message to everybody. We need you to speak to government, to look critically at the educational system. We need you to speak to government again, to look at the health institutions. We need you to speak to the society in general, to be more accepting of persons with autism and also to support them as much as they can.
No, I was asking this because, we are excited and, the headlines, and the headlines are normally not about autism.
It's politics,
See now, the headlines are normally not about autism, which, as I said, we always leave the weightier matters and just, engage ourselves in the matters on the fringes. So
which
I
is
hope
a shame.
Yeah.
Which is a
which
real
is a big shame. But I know Mary here has done a lot,
Huge advocate.
Yeah, and we also want to use this opportunity as well to invite the other media houses come and support our cause. Organizations have done quite a lot in the past. Inclusion Ghana have done quite a lot. The Autism Center has trained parents, Awawa 2, and New Horizon, but there's a lot that needs to be done. I'm sure, like Nana, you said, the headlines are normally not about autism. This time, can we be a little biased?
You see now.
It's time.
So we're inviting them. Our voices need to be heard. A lot of parents are going to be there tomorrow wanting to share their journey with the world. I think it's an opportunity for us to capture this moment and share with those parents who are struggling and finding it difficult to accept. We live but once, and so we must find a way to support our kids.
And also you asked about how those in the regions can get help. I think the media would help in that direction so that if there's information out there that will be useful, you put it out there.
So what time does it start tomorrow?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at
Prompt.
Coconut Grove Regency, right?
Coconut
At
Grove Regency.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And we are
rich.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a press conference, with the parents. And we have Honorable Jifa Gomeshi supporting our cause.
Okay.
We have Professor Amponsa from the Ghana Medical Association. We have other dignitaries who are also coming on board. And we are inviting the general public. You will see our children tomorrow. Come, they are so lovely. Just interact with them. Get to know a child with autism. Embrace one this Christmas, and you would love them.
That's a nice one. Embrace one this Christmas. May I ask, approximately how many children are suffering from autism in Ghana?
We don't have statistics.
We don't have the
We don't know
statistics.
statistics, but Nana, for instance, this year, almost every week we have reported cases of children under 3, And Dr. Beidu at Kolebu, at the neuropediatric department, said, my child is not talking, it's presenting itself as the #1 case at Kolebu Children's Ward right now. So you can imagine.
Wow.
So the numbers are increasing. And this is Ghana.
Well, ladies, as I said, these are the weightier matters, and I hope that we in the media buy into it. Been talking to Jennifer Brook, who is a member of the working group of ASOC, and also Mary Kufo, a parent and a member of the working group of ASOC. Well, thank you very much, and I hope that we in the media buy into it. The town at the heart of Ghana's oil industry has little to show for its fossil-rich geographically. Residents of Cape 3 Point in the western region have held on a frail hope for change since 2007, when Ghana's first discovered oil as a country. Marks the 5th anniversary of the start of the oil production. Joe News, Justice Beidu spent time in the community. In the first of the 5-part series, he describes how poor education inevitably leads to poor people. Now, say thank you very much, my ladies, for educating us on autism. Be there tomorrow to support and hug a child with autism for Christmas. Let's watch it.